Personal energy and boundaries, long context, English, continuation style. You are not tired because life is hard. You are tired because you are available. Available to everyone. Available to every request, every problem, every emotion that is not even yours. And slowly, without realizing it, your energy stopped being yours. At first, it felt like kindness. Like being a good person. Like doing the right thing. You said yes when you didn't have time. You listened when you were already overwhelmed. You gave support when you needed support yourself. And nothing felt wrong, until you started feeling empty. Because energy doesn't disappear. It gets transferred. And when you don't choose consciously where it goes, other people will choose for you. There is a pattern most people never question. They believe that being needed gives them value. So they stay available. They stay open. They stay responsive. But what they don't see is the hidden cost. Every yes without alignment creates internal resistance. Every time you ignore your own needs, you weaken your internal authority. And over time, something subtle happens. You stop trusting yourself. Because deep inside, you know. You said yes when you meant no. You gave when you were already empty. You stayed when you needed space. And this is where emotional exhaustion begins. Not from doing too much, but from doing too much that is not yours to carry. There are people in your life who don't build their own emotional stability. So they borrow yours. They don't regulate themselves. They come to you. They don't make decisions. They ask you. They don't process their emotions. They unload them on you. And if you are always available, you become their system. And here is the truth most people avoid. Some people don't need you to grow. They need you to stay the same. Because your growth would remove their access to your energy. This is why boundaries feel uncomfortable at first. Not because they are wrong, but because they interrupt patterns that others depend on. When you start saying no, you are not just changing your behavior. You are changing the structure of your relationships. And not everyone will like that. But here is the shift. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They are about directing yourself. They are the moment you stop asking, "What do they need from me?" and start asking, "What does my energy need right now?" Your energy is not unlimited. It is a resource with capacity. And like any resource, if you don't manage it, you will lose it. Not all at once, but in small, daily leaks. A conversation you didn't want to have. A favor you didn't have space for. An emotional load you didn't need to carry. And at the end of the day, you feel drained, but you don't know why. Because no one teaches you this. Exhaustion is not always about effort. It is often about misalignment. You don't need more time. You don't need more discipline. You need better boundaries around your energy. Practical shift number 1, awareness before action. Before you say yes to anything, pause. Not for others. For yourself. Ask, do I actually have the energy for this? Or am I responding out of habit? Most people don't pause. They react. And reaction is the fastest way to lose control of your energy. Practical shift number 2, stop over-explaining. When you set a boundary, you don't need to justify it. Over-explaining is a sign that you are still seeking permission to protect yourself. Instead of, "I'm sorry, I'm just really busy, and I had a long day," and I say, "I'm not available for this." Short, clear, Final. Clarity protects energy. Explanation drains it. Practical shift number 3, delay your response. You don't owe immediate access to anyone. When someone asks something from you, create space between request and response. I'll get back to you. Let me think about it. That space is where you regain control. Because when you respond instantly, you respond from conditioning, not from choice. Practical shift number 4, notice who only shows up to take. Look at your interactions. Who reaches out only when they need something? Who leaves you feeling heavier after every conversation? Who never asks how you are, but always expects you to be there? These are not neutral connections. They are energy patterns. And patterns either build you or drain you. Practical shift number 5, redirect your energy back to yourself. Every time you say no to something that drains you, you create space. And that space must be filled intentionally. With rest. With focus. With building something that is yours. Because if you don't redirect your energy, you will fall back into old patterns. This is where growth actually begins. Not when you do more, but when you protect what you already have. You don't need to prove your value by being available. You don't need to earn your place by overgiving. And you don't need to carry what was never yours. Because the truth is simple. Your life will not change until your boundaries do. And your energy will not grow until you stop giving it away. Now the question is no longer, how can I be there for everyone? The real question is, am I finally ready to be there for myself? Personal energy and boundaries, Part 2, Deep Context. Most people think boundaries are a skill. They're not. They're a reflection of identity. You don't struggle to set boundaries because you don't know how. You struggle because a part of you believes that without being useful, you are not valuable. This belief doesn't come from nowhere. It was learned. At some point, you understood that being quiet equals safer. Being helpful equals appreciated. Being available equals accepted. So you adapted. You became the one who listens. The one who supports. The one who doesn't make things harder for others. And over time, that role became your identity. But here is what most people never realize. When your identity is built on being needed, you will unconsciously attract people who need. Not people who grow. Not people who build. Not people who respect your space. But people who take. Because your behavior teaches others how to treat your energy. And the deeper truth is this. You don't just allow energy drain. You participate in it. Not consciously, but through patterns. You answer immediately. You fix problems that are not yours. You step in before someone even asks. Why? Because it feels uncomfortable to not respond. Because silence feels like rejection. Because distance feels like guilt. This is not about others. This is about your nervous system. When you are used to being needed, stillness feels wrong. When you are used to giving, keeping something for yourself feels selfish. When you are used to overfunctioning, doing less feels like losing control. So even when you are exhausted, you continue. This is why simple advice doesn't work. Just say no. Just focus on yourself. You've heard it. But it doesn't stick. Because the problem is not behavior. It's emotional conditioning. Deep shift, from reaction to self-trust. You don't build boundaries by forcing yourself to say no. You build them by increasing your tolerance for discomfort. Because setting a boundary will trigger guilt, fear of losing connection, fear of being misunderstood, fear of not being liked. And if you are not prepared for that feeling, you will go back to old patterns. So the real work is this: learning to stay grounded, even when someone is not happy with you. Practical rewire number 1, sit with the discomfort. Next time you feel the urge to say yes instantly, stop. Don't replace it with a no immediately. Just pause and observe. What am I feeling right now? Is this urgency real or emotional? Let the discomfort exist without fixing it. This is how you retrain your system. Practical rewire number 2, separate care from access. You can care about someone without being available to them. This is where most people collapse. They think, if I say no, it means I don't care. No. It means you respect your limits. Care is internal. Access is external. You control access. Practical rewire number 3, stop anticipating needs. You are not responsible for predicting what others might need. When you constantly anticipate, you stay in a state of alert. And alert drains energy faster than action. Let people ask, and then decide. Practical rewire number 4, observe who resists your boundaries. When you change, people reveal themselves. Some will respect your limits. Some will try to negotiate them, push them, guilt you. Not because you are wrong, but because they were benefiting from your lack of boundaries. This is where clarity becomes power. You stop asking, why are they reacting like this? And start understanding. This is what happens when I stop overgiving. Practical rewire number 5, build internal validation. If your sense of worth comes from others, you will always overgive. Because you will constantly need feedback, approval, recognition, gratitude. But real stability comes when you validate yourself. When you know, I don't need to prove my value by being available. And this changes everything. Because once your identity shifts, your behavior follows naturally. You don't force boundaries anymore. You become someone who has them. And here is the final layer most people miss. Boundaries don't just protect your energy. They multiply it. When your energy is not scattered, it becomes focused. When it becomes focused, it becomes powerful. And when it becomes powerful, it creates results. Clear thinking, better decisions, higher standards, stronger direction, including financially. Because money follows clarity. And clarity requires energy. If your energy is constantly drained, you will always operate in survival mode. Reacting, fixing, helping, repeating, but never building. And the moment you redirect your energy back to yourself, you stop surviving. And you start creating. Not because life changed, but because you did. So now the question is not, who needs me? The real question is, where is my energy actually building something? And even deeper, who do I become when I stop giving myself away? And if you go even deeper, you start to see that this pattern is not random. It repeats. Different people, same feeling. Different situations, same outcome. You give and end up empty. Not because the world is unfair, but because your system learned that giving is how you stay connected. At some point, your mind linked love with effort, attention with sacrifice, connection with availability. So now, every time you slow down, your system interprets it as loss. Loss of connection, loss of relevance, loss of control. That's why you don't just give energy. You release it under pressure. An internal pressure that says, do something, respond, fix it, or you will lose something. Even when nothing real is at risk. And this is where the illusion breaks. You are not actually losing people when you set boundaries. You are losing access patterns. People who were used to unlimited access will feel restricted. People who relied on your emotional availability will feel distance. People who benefited from your overgiving will feel resistance. But this doesn't mean you are doing something wrong. It means the dynamic is changing. Because real connection does not depend on access. It depends on mutual presence. And mutual presence cannot exist when one person is always giving and the other is always receiving. So when you start holding your energy, you are not breaking relationships. You are testing them. And what survives that test is real. There is also something else happening under the surface. When you constantly give your energy away, you train your brain to focus outward. On others. On problems. On reactions. And slowly, you lose internal direction. You stop asking what you want. You stop noticing what you need. You stop building anything that belongs to you. Because your attention is always occupied. And attention is energy. Where your attention goes, your life follows. So if your attention is constantly consumed by others, your life becomes a response, not a creation. You wake up reacting. You move through the day reacting. You end the day drained. And nothing actually moved forward. This is how people stay stuck for years. Not because they lack potential, but because their energy is never fully theirs. And when your energy is divided, your results will always be limited. Because growth requires depth, focus, consistency, repetition. And none of these can exist when your energy is constantly interrupted. Every interruption resets your state. Every emotional demand pulls you out of your direction. Every unnecessary involvement slows down your momentum. So even if you are capable of more, you never reach it. Because your energy never accumulates. This is why boundaries are not just emotional tools. They are strategic decisions. They decide what you build, how fast you build it, and whether you build at all. When you start protecting your energy, something unusual happens. You feel space. At first, it feels unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. Because you are not used to having energy left. You are used to being used. But if you stay in that space, without filling it immediately with new obligations, it transforms. That space becomes clarity. Clarity becomes direction. Direction becomes action. And action, sustained over time, becomes results. This is the part people don't see. They see boundaries as restriction. But in reality, boundaries create expansion. Not by doing more, but by removing what was never meant to be carried. And as you continue, your standards change. What you tolerate changes. What you respond to changes. What you accept into your life changes. Not because you force it, but because your energy no longer matches the old patterns. You start noticing things you ignored before. Conversations that feel heavy. People who only take. Situations that drain without giving anything back. And instead of adjusting yourself to fit them, you step back. This is where self-respect becomes visible. Not in what you say, but in what you allow. And slowly, your environment reorganizes. Not everyone leaves, but everything shifts. Because your energy is no longer available in the same way. And this creates something most people never experience. Stability. Not emotional highs and lows. Not constant exhaustion followed by short recovery. But a steady, controlled flow of energy. From that state, everything becomes easier. Thinking. Deciding. Building. Saying no. Saying yes. Because now, your actions come from choice, not pressure. And when you operate from choice, you stop leaking energy. You stop reacting to everything. You stop engaging in what doesn't matter. You stop proving your value through effort. And instead, you start directing your energy like something valuable. Because it is. And once you see it clearly, you cannot unsee it. You begin to recognize every moment where your energy is being pulled. Every subtle expectation. Every unnecessary responsibility. Every emotional demand that is not yours. And instead of automatically stepping in, you pause. That pause changes everything. Because inside that pause, you reclaim authorship over your life. Not in a dramatic way, but in small, consistent decisions. A no here. A delay there. A boundary that you don't explain. And over time, those small decisions rebuild your entire structure. Not from the outside, but from within. And at some point, without even noticing when it happened, you are no longer the person who gives everything away. You are the person who chooses. And that is where real power begins. And once you begin to choose, something else becomes visible. You start to see how much of your life was built on automatic responses. Not conscious decisions. Not intentional direction. Just patterns repeating because they were never questioned. You answered because it felt expected. You showed up because it felt required. You carried things because no one else did. And over time, this created a version of you that is constantly active, but rarely aligned. Because activity without alignment is just controlled exhaustion. This is why even when you rest, you don't feel restored. Because the issue is not physical tiredness. It is energetic misplacement. Your energy has been going in directions that do not return anything to you. No growth. No clarity. No expansion. Just constant output. And the body notices this. The mind notices this. Even if you don't consciously acknowledge it. That feeling of heaviness? It's not random. That lack of motivation? It's not laziness. That resistance to everything? It's not weakness. It is your system reacting to imbalance. Because when energy goes out, without coming back in meaningful ways, your system begins to shut down unnecessary effort. That's why forcing yourself harder doesn't work. More discipline doesn't fix misdirection. More effort doesn't solve leakage. You don't need to push more. You need to stop losing. And this is where most people get it wrong. They try to add new habits on top of an already draining structure. More routines. More goals. more expectations. But if your energy is still being pulled in 10 different directions, those habits will not hold. Because consistency is not built on motivation. It is built on available energy. And available energy comes from protection. So instead of asking, "What else should I do?" you start asking, "What needs to be removed? What conversations are unnecessary? What responsibilities are self-imposed? What dynamics exist only because you allowed them to?" This question creates space. And space is where everything begins. Because without space, nothing new can enter. Not new thinking. Not new direction. Not new results. Everything stays the same. Because everything is always full. Full of noise. Full of requests. Full of expectations that were never yours. So when you begin to remove, you are not losing anything valuable. You are clearing distortion. And clarity appears in that absence. You begin to notice what actually matters. Not what feels urgent. Not what demands attention. But what is aligned. And alignment is quiet. It doesn't shout. It doesn't pressure. It doesn't rush you. Which is why most people ignore it. Because they are used to intensity, not clarity. But real direction feels different. It feels simple, direct, stable, and it requires energy to follow. Energy that you didn't have before. Because it was everywhere else. Now, as you start to gather it back, your focus sharpens. Your thinking slows down, in a good way. You stop jumping between things. You stop reacting to everything. And for the first time, you can stay with one direction long enough to actually build something. This is where your life begins to shift in visible ways. Not instantly, but steadily. Because now your actions are not scattered. They accumulate. And accumulation creates results. Emotionally, you become more stable. You don't absorb everything around you. You don't carry what isn't yours. You don't feel responsible for everything. Financially, something changes too. Because you finally have the energy to think, to plan, to execute consistently. You are no longer spending your best energy solving other people's problems. You are using it to create your own direction. And that difference compounds. Not overnight. But over time, it becomes undeniable. Because energy, when protected, doesn't just stay. It grows. It grows into clarity. Into discipline. Into decisions that actually move your life forward. And at that point, you understand something deeply. You were never lacking energy. You were lacking boundaries. And once that changes, everything reorganizes around it. Your relationships. Your time. Your focus. Your results. Not because the world changed, but because your access to yourself changed. And when you have access to your own energy, you are no longer dependent on external structure. You don't need constant motivation. You don't need pressure. You don't need urgency to function. You move because you choose to. And that is a completely different way of living. Not reactive. Not exhausted. Not divided. But directed. And from that place, you no longer ask for permission to protect your energy. You don't negotiate your limits. You don't explain your decisions. You don't justify your space. Because you understand the cost of losing it. And once you understand that cost, you stop paying it. Not once, but consistently. In small moments. Every day. And those small moments become a completely different life. And when you begin to design your life instead of reacting to it, you notice something else that most people never question: how much of their daily behavior is driven by invisible pressure, pressure to respond, pressure to be present, pressure to not disappoint. And that pressure has been shaping decisions for years without being challenged. So you start observing it in real time. You feel the moment when someone expects something from you and your body wants to respond instantly, not because it is right for you but because it is familiar, and instead of following that impulse you stay still for a second longer, and that second becomes power, because in that space you finally have a choice, not a reaction. And that choice begins to separate your real self from the version of you that was built to be available. And as this separation becomes clearer, you start realizing how much of your identity was maintained through constant interaction, through being needed, through being involved. And without that constant involvement, there is a moment where you don't recognize yourself the same way, and that can feel unstable at first, because your sense of self was connected to how much you gave, how much you did, how much you were present for others. And now that you are no longer doing that at the same level, your system asks a new question: who am I if I am not constantly giving? And instead of rushing to answer it, you stay in that question, because that is where a new identity forms, not from effort, not from proving anything, but from alignment. And alignment feels different. It is quieter, more precise, less emotional but more stable. And from that place your decisions begin to shift naturally. You don't need to convince yourself to say no. You don't need to repeat affirmations to feel strong. You simply see clearly what costs you energy and what builds it, and clarity removes negotiation. Because once you see the cost, you stop justifying it. You stop explaining why you should still engage. You stop creating reasons to stay involved in things that drain you. And that is where your energy begins to consolidate. Instead of being spread across multiple directions, it starts to gather in one place. And gathered energy has a completely different effect. It creates depth. It allows you to stay longer with one thought, one action, one direction, and that depth is what most people never reach because they are constantly switching, constantly interrupted, constantly pulled away. And without depth, nothing meaningful is built. Everything stays at the surface, temporary, inconsistent, incomplete. But when your energy is no longer fragmented, your actions begin to carry weight, your attention becomes sharper, your time becomes more intentional, and you start to notice that things that used to feel difficult now feel simple, not because they changed, but because you are no longer divided while doing them. And that is where efficiency appears, not from doing more, but from being fully present in what you choose. And presence is only possible when your energy is not leaking in the background, when there are no open loops pulling at you, no unresolved expectations sitting in your mind, no silent obligations waiting for your attention. And as those disappear, your internal noise decreases. And when noise decreases, focus increases. And when focus increases, results follow. And this is the moment where your external life starts to reflect your internal changes, not dramatically, not instantly, but consistently. And consistency is what creates visible difference over time. Because now you are not starting from zero every day, you are continuing from where you left off. Your progress is not reset by interruptions, your direction is not broken by unnecessary involvement, and that continuity builds something most people never experience: momentum that does not collapse, direction that does not change every week, effort that actually accumulates. And from that accumulation your confidence becomes stable, not dependent on external validation, not dependent on how others respond to you, but based on what you see yourself creating. And that changes your relationship with everything, with time, with people, with opportunities. You no longer feel the need to grab everything, to respond to everything, to be part of everything, because you understand that every yes has a cost, and every cost comes from the same place, your energy. And once you see energy as your primary resource, your decisions reorganize around it automatically. You start protecting it without forcing yourself. You start valuing it without reminders. You start directing it without hesitation. and that is where your life becomes structured in a completely different way, not around what is happening around you, but around what you choose to build, and that shift removes a lot of unnecessary movement, unnecessary stress, unnecessary involvement, and what remains is simple, focused, intentional, and from that state you don't feel the need to prove anything anymore, because you are no longer trying to maintain an image, you are building a reality. And building requires consistency, and consistency requires protected energy, and protected energy requires boundaries that are not negotiable, not explained, not adjusted for comfort, but held because you understand their role. And once that understanding is fully integrated, you stop going back to old patterns, not because you force yourself not to, but because they no longer make sense to you. They no longer feel aligned, they no longer match the direction you are moving in. And that is when change becomes permanent, not temporary, not dependent on motivation, but built into the way you operate. And from that point forward, your life is no longer something that happens to you. It is something that reflects how you manage, protect, and direct your energy every single day. And as this becomes your normal, you start noticing the moments that used to control you, the small pulls on your attention, the silent expectations, the to respond immediately. And now, instead of moving automatically, you pause just a second longer. And that second changes the entire outcome, because in that space you are no longer reacting, you are choosing. And choice creates direction, while reaction only repeats patterns. So you begin to move differently, slower on the outside, but more precise on the inside, less rushed, less scattered, less available for everything, and more present for what actually matters. You start to feel when something is not aligned, not as a thought, but as a signal in your body, a subtle resistance, a heaviness, a quiet no that you used to ignore, and now you don't ignore it, you respect it. Because you understand that every time you override that signal, you pay with your energy later, through exhaustion, through frustration, through loss of focus. So instead of pushing through, you step back, you reassess, you decide again. And this changes the rhythm of your life. It becomes less reactive, less chaotic, more intentional, more structured, not rigid, but clear. And clarity removes pressure, because when you know what matters, you don't feel pulled by everything else. You don't feel the need to explain yourself. You don't feel guilty for protecting your space. You don't feel responsible for things that are not yours. You begin to understand that guilt was never a sign that you were doing something wrong. It was a sign that you were doing something different, something your old identity was not used to. And instead of trying to eliminate that feeling, you learn to move with it, to act despite it, to hold your boundary even when it feels uncomfortable, because you know that discomfort is temporary, but the cost of losing your energy is constant. So you hold, calmly, without tension, without over-explaining, without trying to be understood immediately, and over time, something stabilizes inside you, a quiet certainty, that you don't need to give more to be enough, that you don't need to respond to everything to stay relevant, that you don't need to be available to maintain connection. And from that certainty, your presence changes, it becomes more grounded, more contained, more intentional. People feel it, even if they don't understand it, because your energy is no longer scattered, it is centered, and centered energy has weight. It has direction, it has impact. You speak less, but clearer, you do less, but more effectively, you engage less, but with more meaning, and that shift creates a completely different experience of life. One where you are not constantly giving yourself away, but consistently building something with what you keep. You stop measuring your value by how much you do for others, and start measuring it by how well you manage yourself, your time, your focus, your energy, and this internal management becomes your foundation, because without it, everything collapses, but with it, everything becomes possible. And as you continue, you realize that discipline is not forcing yourself to do more, it is protecting your energy so you can stay consistent. It is saying no when it matters. It is not engaging when it is unnecessary. It is staying in your direction even when something tries to pull you away. And this creates a different kind of strength, not loud, not visible at first, but stable, controlled, reliable. The kind of strength that doesn't break under pressure because it is not built on reaction, it is built on awareness. And awareness keeps expanding. You start noticing patterns faster. You see dynamics before they fully form. You recognize when something is about to drain you. And instead of waiting until you are exhausted, you adjust early. You step back earlier. You choose differently sooner. And that reduces loss, not just of energy, but of time, of focus, of opportunities that require your full attention. Because now your attention is not constantly divided. It is directed, and directed attention creates depth. And depth creates results that are not temporary, but lasting. So your life begins to feel less like something you are trying to manage, and more like something that follows your decisions, your structure, your standards, and those standards become clear, not from rules, but from experience. From knowing exactly what happens when you ignore your limits, and what happens when you respect them. And once that contrast becomes clear, you stop negotiating with yourself, you stop saying just this once, you stop making exceptions that cost you later, because you understand that every small decision shapes the whole structure, and the structure defines your life. So you choose carefully, consistently, quietly, and those choices build something strong, something stable, something that doesn't collapse when things get intense, because it is not dependent on external conditions. It is built on how you manage what is yours. Your energy, your attention, your presence. And when those are protected, directed, and used intentionally, your life no longer feels overwhelming. It feels controlled, not by force, but by clarity, and that clarity becomes your advantage every single day. And as this clarity stabilizes, you begin to notice the difference between what is truly important and what only feels urgent. The difference between what builds your life and what only consumes it, and this distinction becomes sharper with time. Because you are no longer reacting to everything at the same level, you are filtering, constantly, quietly, without effort. You start to see how many things once felt necessary, but were never essential, how many conversations added nothing, how many obligations existed only because you allowed them to. And instead of feeling overwhelmed by that realization, you feel relief. Because now you understand that most of what drained you is optional, not required. And this realization changes your relationship with time. You stop rushing, you stop trying to fit everything in, you stop feeling like you are always behind. Because now your time is not filled with everything, it is filled with what matters. And when time is aligned with priority, pressure disappears. You move with more intention, more precision, you take action when it is needed, and you remain still when it is not, and that balance creates efficiency, not forced productivity, but natural flow, where your energy is used exactly where it creates value, and not wasted where it doesn't. You also begin to recognize emotional patterns in others more clearly, the way some people communicate from need, from dependency, from lack of internal structure, and instead of absorbing that, instead of stepping in automatically, you observe. You stay present, but you don't take responsibility for it. And this is where your emotional boundaries become stronger, not by blocking people, but by not internalizing what is not yours, by not carrying what you didn't create, by not reacting to emotions that don't belong to you. And this creates a different kind of peace, not the absence of problems, but the absence of unnecessary involvement, the absence of constant emotional noise, the absence of pressure to respond to everything. You feel lighter, not because life became easier, but because you stopped carrying what was never yours. And that lightness increases your capacity, your ability to focus, to think clearly, to stay consistent, because now your energy is not fragmented by emotional weight, it is available, stable, directed. You also begin to trust your own decisions more, because you are no longer influenced by every external input, you are no longer adjusting your direction based on other people's reactions. You are no longer second-guessing yourself every time someone disagrees. Your decisions come from within, from clarity, from alignment, and that creates confidence that doesn't depend on approval, doesn't depend on validation, doesn't depend on being understood immediately. And this independence changes everything, because now you are not waiting for the right moment, or the right support, or the right response from others. You are moving based on your own structure, your own direction, your own energy. And that creates momentum that is self-sustained, not dependent on motivation, not dependent on external circumstances, but built on consistency. And consistency becomes easier, because your energy is no longer constantly interrupted. You begin to notice that what once felt difficult, now feels natural. Saying no, stepping back, choosing yourself, protecting your time, these are no longer actions that require effort, they become default. And when something becomes default, it no longer drains energy, it preserves it. So instead of using energy to fight old patterns, you use energy to build new ones, and those new patterns create structure, stability, direction. And that structure supports growth, not temporary improvement, but real, sustained progress, the kind that doesn't collapse under pressure, the kind that doesn't disappear when things get intense. Because it is not built on temporary motivation, it is built on how you manage your energy every single day. And as you continue, you realize something that changes your perspective completely. You were never overwhelmed because life was too much. You were overwhelmed because you allowed too much access. And once access is controlled, everything else becomes manageable, clear, and focused. And from that place, your life no longer feels like something you are trying to keep up with. It feels like something that follows your direction, your standards, your decisions. And that is where control becomes real, not forced, not rigid, but natural, steady, and entirely yours. And as this sense of control settles in, you begin to experience something that used to feel impossible: calm without emptiness, focus without pressure, movement without chaos. And this changes the way you relate to everything around you. Because you are no longer pulled by every external signal, you are anchored internally. You notice how silence no longer feels uncomfortable, it feels productive, because in that silence your thoughts are clearer, your direction is visible, your priorities are not competing with noise, and instead of trying to fill every moment, you allow space to exist, because you understand that space is where alignment happens. You also begin to see how much energy was lost in anticipation, in thinking about what might happen, what someone might need, what could go wrong. And now, instead of living in that constant anticipation, you return to the present, to what is actually real, to what actually requires your energy now. And this reduces mental fatigue, because your mind is no longer processing 10 possible scenarios at once. It is focused, grounded, steady. You move through your day with more awareness, not hyper-awareness that creates tension, but quiet awareness that creates control. You see what matters, you ignore what doesn't, you engage when it's aligned, and you step back when it's not. And this selective engagement becomes your strength, because your energy is no longer reacting to everything, it is responding only to what is relevant. You begin to notice that your time expands, not literally, but in how you experience it. Things that once felt rushed, now feel manageable. Things that once felt overwhelming, now feel structured, because your attention is not divided, it is directed. And directed attention changes your perception of effort. What once felt heavy now feels simple. What once required force now requires presence, because you are no longer carrying unnecessary weight while doing it. You also become more aware of your internal signals, the moments when your energy drops, the moments when your focus shifts, the moments when something is not aligned, and instead of ignoring these signals, you adjust early, before the cost becomes visible. And that early adjustment prevents exhaustion, prevents frustration, prevents the cycle of pushing and crashing that you used to experience. Your energy becomes more stable, not in peaks and drops, but in a steady flow, and that steady flow supports consistency, and consistency supports results. You no longer depend on feeling motivated to act, because your structure carries you, your boundaries protect you, your clarity directs you. And from that combination, your actions become reliable, repeatable, sustainable. You also notice how your environment responds differently, not because you changed others, but because you changed your availability. Your responses are slower, more intentional. Your presence is less frequent, but more valuable, and that shifts dynamics. Naturally. People begin to adjust, some step back, Some respect your space, some try to test your limits, but you remain consistent, not reacting to their reactions, not adjusting your boundaries for comfort, but holding your structure calmly. And that calm consistency reinforces everything, because over time, what you allow becomes clear, what you don't engage with becomes clear, and that clarity removes confusion, removes mixed signals, removes unnecessary tension. Your relationships become more defined, more intentional, less draining, because they are no longer built on unlimited access. They are built on mutual respect for energy, time, presence. And this creates a different level of connection, one that doesn't rely on constant availability, but on quality, on alignment, on shared direction. You also become more selective with opportunities, not chasing everything that appears, not reacting to every possibility, but choosing based on alignment, based on capacity, based on whether it supports your direction or distracts from it. And this selectivity protects your growth, because not every opportunity is beneficial. Some only create noise, some only divide your energy, and now you see the difference. You choose fewer things, but you execute them better, you commit fully, you stay consistent, you allow your energy to build within one direction instead of scattering across many. And that creates depth, and depth creates results that are stronger, more stable, more sustainable. You also begin to respect your own pace, not comparing, not rushing, not forcing yourself into timelines that don't belong to you, because you understand that real progress is not about speed, it is about direction and consistency. And when your direction is clear, and your energy is protected, progress becomes inevitable. Not because you push harder, but because you remove what was slowing you down. And this changes your relationship with effort. It is no longer something you resist, it is something you apply intentionally, where it matters, when it matters, without waste. You become efficient, not by doing more, but by eliminating what is unnecessary, by focusing on what creates impact, by protecting the energy required to sustain that focus. And over time, this builds a life that feels different, not overloaded, not chaotic, not constantly demanding, but structured, clear, directed. A life where your energy is not something you lose every day, but something you use, build, and grow with, consistently. And from that place, everything becomes possible, not because the world changed, but because you finally stopped giving yourself away, and started choosing where you belong, every single day. And as you keep choosing where you belong, you begin to feel a deeper shift, not just in what you do, but in how you experience yourself, because before, your sense of self was constantly influenced by what was happening around you, by who needed you, who responded to you, who approved of you, and now, that influence starts to fade, slowly, naturally, without force. You start feeling more independent internally, less reactive to external changes, less affected by how others behave, because your state is no longer built on their actions, it is built on your structure, your boundaries, your decisions. And this creates emotional stability that doesn't break easily, not because nothing happens, but because you are not absorbing everything that happens, you are no longer merging with every situation, every emotion, every expectation. You remain separate, grounded, aware, and that separation gives you clarity. You can see situations for what they are, not for how they make you feel in the moment, and that allows you to respond with intention, not from impulse, not from pressure. You also begin to notice that you no longer feel the need to fix everything, to solve everything, to be involved in everything, because you understand that not everything is yours to carry, not everything requires your energy, not everything deserves your attention. And this understanding removes a silent weight, a weight you carried for so long that you thought it was normal. You begin to feel lighter in a way that is not temporary, not dependent on rest, but built on how you move through your day, how you choose, how you engage, how you step back. And this lightness increases your capacity to build, to focus, to stay consistent, because your energy is not constantly interrupted by things that don't belong to you. You also begin to trust your instincts more, not questioning every decision, not seeking constant validation, not waiting for confirmation from others, because your clarity is enough, your awareness is enough, your structure is enough. And that trust creates confidence that is quiet, stable, not loud, not forced, but present in how you move, how you decide, how you hold your space. You don't need to explain your boundaries, you don't need to justify your choices, you don't need to make others understand immediately, because you are not operating for approval, you are operating for alignment. And alignment becomes your priority, not comfort, not acceptance, not being liked, but being clear, being directed, being consistent with what matters to you. You also notice that your energy feels different when it is protected. It feels stronger, more focused, more available for creation, not just for reaction. And that shift from reaction to creation changes everything, because now you are not just managing your life, you are building it, intentionally, step by step, decision by decision. You stop living in cycles of exhaustion and recovery, and start living in a flow of consistent output, balanced by intentional rest, not forced rest, not collapse, but chosen recovery that supports your direction. And this creates sustainability, a state where you can keep going, not in a rushed way, not in a pressured way, but in a steady, controlled, intentional way. You also become more aware of the value of your presence, not in how often you show up, but in how you show up, because now your presence is not scattered, it is focused, intentional, and that makes it more impactful. You give less, but what you give has more weight, more clarity, more direction, because it comes from a place of choice, not obligation. And this changes how others experience you. They feel the difference, even if they don't understand it, because your energy is no longer easy to access, it is not constantly available, it is not automatically given. And that creates respect, not because you demand it, but because your behavior communicates value, consistency, clarity. You also notice that you are no longer afraid of losing people in the same way, because you understand that anything built on unlimited access was never stable to begin with. And what remains after you set boundaries, what stays after you change, what adapts instead of resisting, that is what is real. And that realization removes fear, removes hesitation, removes the need to hold on to everything. You become more selective, not from ego, but from awareness, from understanding what aligns, what builds, what supports your direction. And that selectivity protects your future, because where your energy goes, your life follows. So you choose carefully, consistently, intentionally, and those choices build something strong, something stable, something that doesn't depend on external conditions to function. Your life becomes structured around your energy, not around external demands, and that structure supports growth, clarity, direction. And as this continues, you no longer feel like you are trying to keep everything together. You feel like everything is aligning naturally, because you are aligned. And when you are aligned, your actions, your time, your energy, your decisions, they all move in the same direction. And that direction creates progress, not temporary, not inconsistent, but real, visible, lasting. And at that point, you understand something completely. You were never meant to give your energy to everyone. You were meant to use it to build your life. And everything changes the moment you start doing exactly that. And when you fully accept that your energy is meant to build your life, not sustain everyone else's, a final shift begins to settle in, one that is not loud, not dramatic, but permanent. You stop negotiating with what drains you, completely. You no longer revisit old patterns to see if it's different this time. You no longer test situations that already showed you their cost. You no longer give access just because it feels familiar, because familiarity is no longer a reason, alignment is. And this removes a layer of confusion that used to slow you down. You don't overthink every decision, you don't analyze every interaction, you don't question yourself after choosing, because your criteria is clear. Does this build me, or does this drain me? And once that question becomes automatic, decisions become simple. You also stop trying to balance everything equally, because you understand that balance is not giving the same energy to everything, it is giving the right amount of energy to the right things. Some things require your full attention, some require none, and learning that difference is what protects your direction. You stop distributing yourself evenly, and start concentrating yourself intentionally. And concentration creates impact, because scattered energy creates scattered results, but focused energy creates outcomes that actually move your life forward. You also begin to notice how your standards no longer feel forced, they feel natural, because they are not based on rules, they are based on experience, on knowing exactly what happens when you ignore your limits, and what happens when you respect them. So you don't lower them for comfort, you don't adjust them for approval, you don't compromise them to maintain connection. Because you understand that every compromise of your energy delays your growth. And growth becomes your priority, not in a pressured way, but in a clear, steady, intentional way. You are no longer trying to prove anything, not to others, not even to yourself, you are simply building, consistently, without interruption. And that consistency becomes your identity, not what you say, not what you promise, but what you do repeatedly. You show up when it matters, you stay focused when it counts, you step back when something is not aligned, and that pattern reinforces itself. And as it reinforces, it becomes stronger, more stable, less dependent on effort, until it becomes automatic. At that point, your life feels different at a core level, not because everything is perfect, but because everything is directed. You are no longer pulled in 10 directions at once, you are moving in one, clearly, steadily, without constant interruption. And that creates a sense of control that is not based on force, but on structure. You don't need to control everything around you, because you control what is yours, your energy, your attention, your decisions. And controlling what is yours is enough, it is more than enough, because everything else adjusts around that, naturally, over time. You also begin to trust time differently, you are no longer rushing to get everything now, you are no longer impatient with your progress, because you see how consistency builds, how small, aligned actions accumulate, how direction maintained over time creates results that cannot be rushed. And this patience is not passive, it is active, it is built on doing the right things, repeatedly, without distraction, without interruption, without losing yourself in the process. You also feel less emotional turbulence, not because emotions disappear, but because they no longer control your decisions. You feel them, you observe them, but you don't build your life around them. Your decisions come from clarity, not from temporary states, and that creates stability that doesn't collapse when emotions change. You become grounded in a way that is difficult to shake, not rigid, not closed, but centered, aware, in control of your direction. And this grounded state allows you to expand, to take on more when it matters, to grow without losing balance, to build without burning out. Because now you have the structure to support that expansion, you have boundaries that protect your energy, you have clarity that directs it, you have awareness that maintains it. And from that combination, your life becomes scalable, not limited by exhaustion, not slowed down by constant interruption, but supported by a system that works. A system where your energy is respected, by you first, and then by others. And that is where everything stabilizes, not just temporarily, but long-term. You no longer fall back into cycles of overgiving and burnout, because you no longer operate from that identity. You operate from choice, from awareness, from structure. And that changes everything, permanently. Because once you become someone who protects, directs, and builds with their energy, you don't go back to giving it away. You move forward. And everything you build from that point reflects that decision. And as everything you build begins to reflect that decision, you start to understand that your life is not shaped by big moments, but by small, repeated choices, the quiet decisions no one sees. The moments where you could give your energy away, and you don't. The moments where you could react, and you choose to stay grounded. Those moments seem insignificant at first, almost invisible, but they accumulate, they define your direction, they build your structure, they create your reality over time. And this is where real discipline lives, not in forcing yourself to do more, but in consistently protecting what matters, even when no one is watching, even when it would be easier to fall back into old patterns. You begin to notice how easy it would be to slip back, to say yes just once, to respond just this time, to engage just for a moment, and that awareness becomes your checkpoint. Because you understand now, it's never just once, it's a pattern restarting. And patterns don't need intensity to return, they only need permission. So you stop giving that permission, not from fear, but from clarity, from knowing the cost, from knowing exactly where it leads. And this clarity simplifies everything. You don't argue with yourself anymore. You don't justify exceptions. You don't negotiate with what drains you. You decide, and you hold that decision. Calmly, consistently, without tension. And this calm consistency becomes your strength, because it doesn't fluctuate, it doesn't depend on mood, it doesn't depend on circumstances. It holds, no matter what is happening around you. And that creates reliability, not just in your actions, but in your identity. You become someone who can trust themselves, not occasionally, but consistently. And that trust changes how you move through life, because you are no longer questioning every step, you are no longer doubting every decision, you are no longer seeking reassurance from others. You rely on your own clarity, your own awareness, your own structure. And that self-reliance creates freedom, real freedom, not the kind that comes from having no responsibilities, but the kind that comes from not being controlled by everything around you. You are free from constant reaction, free from unnecessary involvement, free from the need to prove your value through effort. And in that freedom, your energy becomes fully yours. Not partially available, not divided, not scattered. Fully yours. And when your energy is fully yours, your potential becomes accessible. Not as an idea, not as something distant, but as something you can actually use, consistently. You stop feeling like you have more inside you that you can't reach, because now you can. Because nothing is blocking it, nothing is draining it before you use it, nothing is pulling it away from your direction. And that access changes your results. You think deeper, you act with more precision, you stay consistent longer, you build without interruption. And that creates outcomes that are not random, not temporary, but structured, repeatable, sustainable. You also begin to respect the process differently. You don't rush results, you don't expect instant change, you don't get frustrated when things take time. Because you understand now, real change is built through consistency, through direction, through protecting the energy required to sustain both. And this understanding removes pressure, removes impatience, removes the need to constantly measure progress. You simply continue. Step by step, decision by decision, day by day. And that continuation becomes your advantage. Because most people stop, get distracted, get pulled away, lose their direction. But you don't. Because your energy is not being taken from you anymore. It is being used by you. Intentionally, consistently, effectively. And that difference, over time, becomes everything. It separates potential from results. Effort from outcome. Movement from progress. And as that difference grows, your life reflects it more and more clearly. Not in one moment, not in one breakthrough, but in the accumulation of everything you chose to protect. Everything you chose not to engage with. Everything you chose to build instead. And at that point, there is no confusion left. No doubt about what matters. No hesitation about what to do. No uncertainty about where your energy belongs. You know. Clearly, quietly, completely. And that knowing becomes your direction. Your structure. Your power. And from there, you don't just manage your life. You shape it, consistently, intentionally, without losing yourself ever again. And at the deepest level, you begin to understand that protecting your energy is not a technique, It is a standard, and once something becomes a standard, you don't question it anymore, you don't negotiate it, you don't break it for convenience. It simply becomes the way you live. You no longer ask yourself if you should respond, you know when it deserves your energy and when it doesn't. You no longer wonder if you are too much or too distant, because your actions are not based on perception, they are based on alignment. And alignment removes confusion, completely. You don't wake up thinking about what others expect, you wake up knowing what you are building, and that clarity directs your day before anything else can interfere, before any request, any message, any external input. Because now, your direction comes first, everything else is secondary. And this priority is what protects your life from being consumed again. You also begin to notice something very real, something most people never reach. Silence becomes powerful. Not empty, not lonely, but full. Full of clarity, full of direction, full of energy that is not being used unnecessarily. And in that silence, you are not waiting for something to happen, you are preparing, thinking, creating. You are using your energy internally, not constantly releasing it externally. And that internal use multiplies it. Because energy that is not spent randomly grows. It strengthens your thinking, your focus, your presence, your ability to act with precision. And precision changes everything. You no longer make decisions out of habit. You no longer repeat actions just because they are familiar. You no longer follow patterns that don't serve you. Every move becomes intentional, even the small ones. And small intentional actions, repeated consistently, build something that looks effortless from the outside. But inside, you know exactly what it took. Awareness, restraint, consistency. The ability to not react when it would be easier. The ability to not engage when it would feel familiar. The ability to hold your energy when everything tries to pull it away. And this is where discipline becomes invisible. Because it is no longer something you force. It is something you live. You don't think, I need to be disciplined. You simply don't do what drains you. And that is real control. Not controlling others, not controlling situations. Controlling access to yourself. And once you control access to yourself, your life becomes protected at the source. Nothing enters without your permission. Nothing takes without your awareness. Nothing stays if it doesn't align. And from that point, everything you build has a different quality. Your work becomes deeper. Your focus becomes stronger. Your results become cleaner. Because there is no interference, no hidden drain, no constant leakage of energy in the background. And then you realize something that changes your entire perspective. You don't need more opportunities. You need more uninterrupted energy. Because with uninterrupted energy, you see more clearly. You decide faster. You act better. You stay consistent longer. And that alone creates more results than anything else. So you stop searching outside for motivation, for validation, for direction. Because everything you need is already available. Once your energy is yours. And when your energy is finally yours, completely yours, without constant leakage, without silent obligations, without invisible pressure, you begin to experience a level of clarity that changes how you see everything, not just your actions, but your past, your patterns, your choices, and you start connecting the dots. You see where you gave too much, where you stayed too long, where you ignored yourself to maintain something that was never stable, and instead of feeling regret, you feel understanding. Because now you see it from a different level, not as a mistake, but as a pattern that you have outgrown, and that understanding removes weight, removes blame, removes the need to revisit it again and again, because you already see clearly what it cost you, and clarity closes loops that confusion keeps open. You also begin to feel a different relationship with your future, not anxious, not uncertain, not dependent on what might happen, but grounded in what you are building now, because your focus is no longer scattered across possibilities. It is directed into action, consistent, stable, uninterrupted, and that creates trust, not in outcomes, but in your process, in your ability to stay aligned, to protect your energy, to continue building regardless of external fluctuations. And that trust removes a lot of internal tension, because you are no longer trying to control everything. You are controlling what matters, your input, your direction, your energy, and that is enough, more than enough. Because everything else organizes around that over time, not instantly, but inevitably. You also begin to notice that your standards are no longer negotiable even in subtle ways, not in tone, not in time, not in attention. You don't give partial access just to avoid discomfort. You don't open small doors that lead back to old patterns. You don't allow small leaks that turn into large losses later, because you understand that structure is maintained in details, not in big decisions, but in small consistent boundaries that you hold without exception. And that consistency creates integrity, not just in how others see you, but in how you experience yourself. You feel stable, reliable, grounded, because your actions match your decisions match your direction, and your direction is clear. And that alignment removes internal conflict, removes hesitation, removes doubt, because everything is moving in the same direction. You also stop overvaluing what is external and start valuing what is internal. Your clarity, your focus, your ability to stay consistent, your capacity to direct your energy where it creates results. And that shift changes what you prioritize. You stop chasing recognition, you stop reacting to opinions, you stop adjusting based on external noise, because you are no longer measuring yourself through others, you are measuring through alignment and results. And this creates a different kind of progress, one that is not visible immediately, not loud, not dramatic, but stable, cumulative, undeniable over time, because it is built on something real, not on temporary states, not on emotional highs, but on consistent direction supported by protected energy. You also begin to understand that most people never reach this level not because they can't, but because they don't protect their energy long enough to experience it. They break the pattern too early, they return to old behaviors too quickly. They reintroduce noise before clarity has time to stabilize. And because of that, they never feel what it's like to operate fully aligned, fully focused, fully present in their own direction. But you do, because you stayed, because you held your boundaries even when it was uncomfortable, because you didn't go back just because it was familiar, and that creates a gap, a difference that becomes visible over time, in how you think, how you act, how you build, how you respond to situations, and that difference compounds. Your life becomes quieter externally, but stronger internally, less reactive, less chaotic, less demanding, but more effective, more precise, more aligned, and that alignment allows you to expand without losing control, to grow without collapsing, to build without burning out. And this is where everything stabilizes at a higher level, not just your energy, but your identity, your decisions, your structure, your direction. Everything becomes integrated, not separate pieces you try to manage, but one system that supports itself, one way of operating that doesn't require constant correction. And from that place, you no longer think about protecting your energy as something you need to remember. It becomes automatic, natural, part of how you move, how you decide, how you engage, and because of that, your life no longer drifts. It doesn't get pulled away by every external force. It stays on course, steady, controlled, intentional. And that is where you realize that the real transformation was never about changing everything in your life at once. It was about changing how you manage what is yours, your energy, your attention, your presence. And once those are aligned, everything else follows. Slowly, consistently, inevitably. And from that point forward, your life is no longer built on reaction, it is built on direction, and direction sustained over time becomes something powerful, something stable, something that cannot be easily disrupted, because it is not dependent on anything external, it is built from within. And that is where you stop searching, stop questioning, stop doubting, because you are no longer trying to find your way, you are already on it, step by step, decision by decision, using your energy not to respond to life, but to shape it, continuously, intentionally, without losing yourself again. And as you continue shaping your life from this place, you begin to notice a final refinement. You stop overcomplicating everything, completely. Because clarity removes the need for complexity, you no longer need elaborate systems to stay focused. You no longer need constant reminders to protect your energy. You no longer need motivation to stay consistent, because everything is simplified to one principle: what builds you stays, what drains you goes. And this simplicity becomes powerful, because it is easy to maintain, easy to apply, easy to return to in any situation. No matter how complex it looks on the outside, your internal process remains the same: clear, direct, intentional, and that consistency keeps you grounded even when things around you change. You also stop trying to optimize every detail, to perfect every move, to control every outcome, because you understand now that control is not about managing everything externally. It is about maintaining internal direction regardless of what happens. And that understanding removes a lot of unnecessary pressure. You act, you observe, you adjust, and you continue, without overthinking every step, without stopping your momentum for unnecessary analysis, because your structure already supports you, your boundaries already protect you, your clarity already directs you. And this creates flow, not chaotic flow, not reactive movement, but controlled continuity, where your actions follow each other naturally, where your decisions connect, where your energy moves in one direction without being pulled away constantly. You begin to trust this flow, not blindly, but through experience, because you see how it works, how it builds, how it sustains itself over time, and that trust allows you to move forward without hesitation, without constant checking, without needing reassurance. You also begin to detach from outcomes in a healthy way, not by not caring, but by not tying your energy to immediate results. You focus on the process, on the direction, on the consistency, because you know that results follow structure, not pressure. And this detachment protects your energy further, because you are no longer reacting emotionally to every outcome. You are not losing focus when something doesn't go as expected. You are not overextending yourself to fix everything immediately. You stay aligned, you adjust when needed, and you continue. You also become more aware of timing, when to act, when to wait, when to step back, when to move forward, and this awareness replaces urgency. You no longer rush into everything, you no longer feel the need to respond instantly. You move when it matters, and you hold when it doesn't. And that control over timing increases your effectiveness, because you are not wasting energy on premature action or delayed decisions. You are aligned with the moment, with the situation, with your capacity. You also start to experience a different level of presence, not scattered attention, not divided focus, but full engagement with what you choose, and that presence makes your actions more impactful, more precise, more efficient. You do less, but you achieve more, because your energy is not diluted, it is concentrated, and concentration creates power, creates depth, creates results that are not easily disrupted. You also begin to see that everything in your life reflects how you manage your energy, your relationships, your work, your environment, your results. They all align with the level of access you allow, the clarity you maintain, the boundaries you hold. And this awareness gives you full responsibility, not in a heavy way, but in a clear way, because now you see that change is always available, through your decisions, through your direction, through your management of what is yours. You no longer feel stuck, because you understand that being stuck was never about lack of options, it was about lack of controlled energy, and now that your energy is directed, movement is always possible. You also stop waiting for the perfect moment, because you see that progress is built in imperfect conditions, through consistent action, through staying aligned even when everything is not ideal, and that removes hesitation. You act, you build, you continue, without needing everything to be perfect, because your structure supports imperfection, your boundaries protect your energy even when things are not optimal. And this creates resilience, not reactive resilience, not forced strength, but stable capacity to continue regardless of circumstances, because your system is not fragile anymore, it is supported, protected, aligned. You also begin to value depth over speed, quality over quantity, direction over movement, and that changes your pace, not slower, but more precise, more intentional, more effective. You no longer measure progress by how much you do, but by how aligned your actions are, and that alignment becomes your metric, your guide, your standard. And this standard simplifies everything again. You don't need multiple rules, multiple systems, multiple strategies. You need alignment, clarity, protected energy, and consistent action. And from that combination, your life continues to build itself, step by step, without constant struggle, without constant correction, without losing direction. You move forward, steadily, clearly, intentionally. And at that point, there is nothing left to fix, nothing left to prove, nothing left to chase. There is only one thing left to do. Continue. And at this point, everything becomes very quiet inside, not empty, not passive, but clear, stable, controlled. And in that quiet, you realize something that changes everything one last time. You don't need to keep improving endlessly. You need to maintain what works. Because most people don't fail from lack of knowledge. They fail from inconsistency, from breaking what already worked, from returning to patterns they already understood. So your focus shifts again, from building to maintaining. Maintaining your boundaries. Maintaining your clarity. Maintaining your direction. Not perfectly, but consistently. And this consistency is not effort anymore, it is awareness. You notice faster when something is off, you correct earlier, you don't let small misalignments grow into bigger problems. You don't wait until you are exhausted to protect your energy, you protect it from the beginning. And this prevents collapse, completely. You also stop seeking new answers all the time, because you already know what works for you, you already experienced what builds you and what drains you. So instead of searching, you apply. Again, and again, and again. And that repetition creates mastery. Not visible, not loud, but real. Mastery over your attention. Mastery over your reactions. Mastery over your energy. And once you reach that level, life becomes simple. Not easy, but simple. You know what to do. You know what to avoid. You know what to protect. And you follow that, without overthinking, without hesitation. You trust your system, because you built it. And that trust removes the last layer of doubt. You no longer question if you are on the right path. Because your path is not something you are trying to find. It is something you are creating, daily, through your decisions, through your structure, through how you manage your energy. And from that point, everything becomes a continuation. Not a restart. Not a correction. Not a search. A continuation. Of clarity. Of direction. Of consistency. And that continuation is what builds a life that doesn't collapse, doesn't reset, doesn't fall apart under pressure. Because it is not built on temporary effort. It is built on how you live every single day. And once you live like that, there is nothing left to add. Only something to keep. Your energy. Your direction. Yourself. And when there is nothing left to add, you begin to understand something even more subtle, that growth at this level is no longer about doing more, it is about not losing what you have built, not losing your clarity, not losing your direction, not losing yourself in situations that no longer match who you are. Because at this stage, the only real risk is not failure, it is distraction. Small distractions, harmless on the surface, a conversation that pulls you in, a request that seems minor, a moment where you lower your standard just this time. And you already know how that ends. Not immediately, not dramatically, but slowly, your focus shifts, your energy spreads, your direction weakens, and if you are not aware, the old pattern begins again. So you don't fight distraction, you recognize it, early, quietly, and you don't engage. Not because you are rigid, but because you are clear. You don't need to test everything anymore. You don't need to experience every situation again to understand it. You already know. And knowing removes curiosity for what drains you. You are no longer pulled by what you have outgrown. And this creates a new level of discipline, one that is almost invisible, because it is not about forcing yourself, it is about not allowing yourself to go back. You don't revisit old dynamics. You don't reopen closed loops. You don't give access where you already saw the cost. And that protects your structure completely. You also begin to feel how little is actually needed to stay aligned. A few clear decisions, repeated daily, a few strong boundaries, held consistently, a few priorities, followed without distraction. And that simplicity becomes your system. Not complicated, not overloaded, just clear and effective. You don't need 10 rules, you need a few that you don't break. And those few rules hold everything together. Your energy stays directed. Your attention stays focused. Your actions stay aligned. And from that alignment, your life continues to build. Quietly, steadily, without constant effort. Because now, everything supports itself. Your boundaries protect your energy. Your energy supports your focus. Your focus drives your actions. Your actions create results. And your results reinforce your clarity. It becomes a loop, but a different one, not a cycle of exhaustion, but a cycle of growth. And that loop doesn't require motivation, it requires consistency. And consistency at this level is not something you push, it is something you maintain. You don't wake up asking, "What should I do today?" You already know your direction. You simply continue. And this continuation removes pressure, because you are not starting from zero, you are building on what already exists. Every day adds, nothing is wasted, nothing is lost. And that accumulation creates something powerful, not visible immediately, but undeniable over time. A life that is stable. A direction that is clear. A system that works. And once you have that, you don't look for shortcuts, you don't look for faster ways, you don't look for easier paths. Because you understand. There is nothing more effective than consistency protected by strong boundaries. Nothing more powerful than energy that is fully yours. And nothing more valuable than a life that is built intentionally. So you don't search anymore. You don't chase. You don't react. You choose. You protect. You continue. And that is enough. More than enough. Because from that place, everything you build stays. And when everything you build begins to stay, you realize something that closes the circle completely, that the real transformation was never about becoming someone new, it was about stopping everything that was taking you away from yourself. You were never missing discipline, you were losing energy. You were never lacking focus, you were divided. You were never without direction, you were interrupted. And once those interruptions are removed, everything that felt difficult becomes natural. You don't force clarity, it appears. You don't chase focus, it stays. You don't search for direction, you see it. Because nothing is blocking it anymore. And that realization removes the last layer of struggle. You stop trying to fix yourself. Because you understand now. You were never the problem. The lack of boundaries was. And once that is fully clear, you stop overworking on yourself, you stop trying to constantly improve, optimize, adjust, you stop treating yourself like a project that is never finished. You allow yourself to operate, to move, to build, without constantly analyzing everything. And this creates a different kind of confidence, not based on improvement, but based on stability. You know who you are when your energy is yours. You know how you think when your focus is not divided. You know how you act when your direction is clear. And that knowing is enough. You also begin to trust that you don't need to respond to everything to stay relevant. You don't need to be present everywhere to matter. You don't need to give your energy to maintain connection. Because real value is not created by how much you give, but by how well you direct what you keep. And that changes your relationship with everything external. You stop chasing attention. You stop reacting to opinions. You stop adjusting based on what others expect. Because your internal system is stronger than external influence. And once that happens, your life becomes internally driven. Not pushed from outside. Not controlled by circumstances. Not shaped by constant input. But directed from within. And that direction creates something very rare. Peace with movement. Not stillness without progress. Not progress without stability. But both, at the same time. You are building, and you are stable. You are moving, and you are grounded. You are growing, and you are not losing yourself. And this is where everything integrates. Your energy. Your attention. Your decisions. Your actions. All moving together, in one direction. And when everything moves together, nothing is wasted. No effort is lost. No time is scattered. No energy disappears. Everything builds. And that is the final shift. You stop living in fragments. And you start living in alignment. Not sometimes. Not when you feel like it. Not when conditions are perfect. But consistently. And consistency at this level becomes identity. Not something you do. Something you are. And from that point, there is no going back. Because you don't just understand boundaries. You became someone who lives by them, naturally. And that changes everything. Quietly, permanently, completely. And once it becomes who you are, not something you try to maintain, but something you naturally live, there is one last layer that settles in, a kind of quiet precision in everything you do. You stop wasting even small amounts of energy, not out of control, but out of awareness. You notice the subtle moments where your attention starts to drift, where something tries to pull you slightly off direction, and instead of following it unconsciously, you return instantly, without effort. That return becomes automatic. Not forced, not dramatic, just a quiet correction, again and again. And these small corrections are what protect everything you built. Because you understand now, collapse doesn't come from one big mistake, it comes from many small ones that go unnoticed. So you don't ignore the small ones anymore. You stay aware, present, precise. You also stop identifying with every thought, every feeling, every impulse. You observe them, you recognize them, but you don't follow all of them. Because you understand that not everything that appears in your mind deserves your energy. And that separation creates mental clarity that stays. You are no longer pulled by every idea, every distraction, every emotional reaction. You choose what to engage with. And that choice preserves your focus. You begin to feel a deeper level of control, not over situations, but over yourself. Your reactions slow down, your responses become deliberate, your movements become intentional. There is no rush, no pressure, no need to prove anything through speed. Because you understand that speed without direction only leads back to the same place. So you move with direction. Always. Even in small things. Even in moments that don't seem important. Because you know now. Everything counts. Every small decision either supports your structure or weakens it. And this awareness keeps you aligned. Not perfectly, but consistently. And consistency is what makes everything hold. You also begin to experience something most people rarely feel. A complete absence of internal noise. Not all the time, but often enough to recognize it. Moments where your mind is clear, your body is calm, your direction is certain. And in those moments, everything feels simple. Not easy, but simple. You don't question what to do. You don't doubt your decisions. You don't feel pulled in multiple directions. You just move. And that movement becomes clean. No wasted effort. No unnecessary steps. No hidden resistance. Everything you do has purpose. Because it comes from alignment. And alignment becomes your baseline. Not something you search for. Something you return to. Again and again. And that return keeps your life on track. Not through force, but through awareness. You don't need to control everything. You just need to stay aligned. And alignment takes care of the rest. Because when you are aligned, your energy is protected. Your focus is clear. Your actions are directed. And from that state, everything you build becomes inevitable. And at this point, you stop looking for the next level, not because there isn't one, but because you understand that depth is more valuable than constant change, and instead of moving to something new, you go deeper into what already works. Deeper into clarity, deeper into control, deeper into alignment. You don't expand by adding, you expand by refining. Refining how you use your energy. Refining how you respond. Refining how you stay present without being pulled away. And this refinement becomes almost invisible from the outside, but internally, it changes everything. You become more precise, more selective, more intentional. Not in big decisions, but in micro moments. The way you answer. The way you pause. The way you decide if something deserves your attention or not. And those micro decisions shape everything. Because your life is no longer built on big changes. It is built on small consistency. You also begin to experience a different kind of silence. Not just absence of noise, but absence of inner conflict. No tension between what you want and what you do. No contradiction between your decisions and your actions. No internal debate that drains your energy. Everything is aligned. And that alignment feels calm, stable, complete. You no longer feel like you need to become something else to be enough. Because you already are. Not perfect, but aligned. And alignment removes the need for constant improvement. You still grow, but not from lack. From direction. You also stop measuring yourself constantly. No more comparing. No more checking if you are ahead or behind. No more trying to validate your progress through external standards. Because your only reference is alignment. If you are aligned, you are moving forward. And that simplicity creates peace. Not passive peace. Active peace. A state where you are moving, building, creating. Without losing yourself in the process. You also begin to see that most of what used to feel important wasn't. It was noise. It was pressure. It was expectation. And now, without that, everything feels lighter, clearer, more direct. You don't need to do more. You don't need to be more. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to stay aligned. And staying aligned becomes your only responsibility. Not controlling everything. Not fixing everything. Not managing everything. Just staying in your direction. And that direction carries you. Without force. Without struggle. Without losing energy. You move. You build. You continue. And at that point, there is nothing left to chase. Nothing left to fix. Nothing left to become. There is only one thing left. To stay. And when you finally learn to stay, not for a moment, not when it's easy, but consistently, something settles that doesn't move anymore, a kind of inner position that you don't lose even when everything around you changes. You can be in noise and remain clear. You can be around pressure and remain steady. You can face expectations and remain in control of your energy. Because staying is no longer something you try to do, it is where you operate from. And from that place, nothing external has the same power over you. Not urgency. Not opinions. Not emotional reactions from others. Because your reference point is internal, stable, consistent. You also begin to understand that staying does not mean stagnation. It means continuity. You are still moving, still building, still evolving. But you are not leaving yourself in the process. You are not abandoning your structure for temporary comfort. You are not breaking your boundaries for short-term ease. You are not losing your direction for momentary distraction. And this continuity creates something very rare. Progress without collapse. Growth without burnout. Movement without chaos. Because every step you take is supported. Not by effort alone, but by structure, by clarity, by protected energy. You also begin to trust stillness in a different way. Not as stopping, but as stabilizing. Moments where nothing changes externally, but internally everything is holding, everything is aligning, everything is strengthening. And instead of rushing out of those moments, you stay. Because you understand now. Not every moment is for action. Some moments are for maintaining what you already built. And that maintenance is what keeps everything from falling apart. Not big effort. Not constant movement. But consistent presence. You are present with your decisions. Present with your boundaries. Present with your direction. And that presence keeps everything intact. You also stop fearing losing progress. Because you know now. You are not depending on motivation. You are not depending on perfect conditions. You are not depending on external support. You are depending on your ability to stay. And that ability is stable. Because you practiced it. You built it. You lived it. So even when something shifts, even when something challenges you, you don't collapse. You return. Quickly, quietly, without drama. Back to your center. Back to your clarity. Back to your direction. And that return becomes your safety. Not avoiding difficulty, but knowing you won't lose yourself inside it. You also begin to see that everything you feared before, losing people, missing opportunities, being misunderstood, none of it has the same weight anymore. Because nothing is more valuable than staying aligned. And once that becomes your priority, everything else becomes secondary, naturally. You don't chase connection. You don't chase validation. You don't chase outcomes. You stay in your structure. And what aligns, stays with you. What doesn't, leaves. Without force. Without resistance. And that creates a life that is not forced into shape, but allowed to align. You don't push everything into place. You hold your position. And everything organizes around that. And that is the final stability. Not controlling the outside, but being so clear inside that nothing outside can move you away from yourself. You stay. And because you stay, everything you built stays with you. And when everything you built stays with you, you reach a point where effort changes form completely. It is no longer about pushing, proving, or protecting through tension. It becomes quiet maintenance, subtle awareness, small corrections made early, without drama. You stop waiting for things to go wrong before you act. You notice the first shift, the first small distraction, the first moment your attention begins to drift, and you return, immediately, gently, without judgment. And that immediate return prevents everything from expanding into something bigger. Because now you understand, nothing breaks suddenly, it shifts slowly, and awareness is what keeps it from going further. You also stop identifying with every version of yourself that appears, the tired version, the distracted version, the reactive version. You see them, but you don't become them, you don't build from them. You return to the version of you that is aligned every time. And that return becomes automatic. You don't need to motivate yourself. You don't need to convince yourself. You just come back. Again and again. And this ability to return, consistently, is what keeps everything stable. Not perfection, but recovery. Fast, quiet, precise recovery. You also begin to feel that your energy is no longer something fragile, something that can be easily taken or lost. It becomes stable, grounded, contained. Because you are not opening yourself to everything anymore. You are choosing, consciously, continuously. And that choice creates a kind of inner boundary that doesn't need to be explained, doesn't need to be defended, doesn't need to be reinforced externally. It exists. And it holds. You also stop reacting to the idea that you might be missing something, missing opportunities, missing connections, missing experiences. Because you understand now. Anything that truly aligns with you does not require you to lose yourself to access it. So you don't chase. You don't rush. You don't force yourself into situations just to not miss out. You stay aligned. And what belongs, meets you there. You also notice that your pace becomes natural, not fast, not slow, but exact. You move when there is clarity. You pause when there is not. And that precision removes wasted energy completely. There is no rushing into things that don't last. No delaying things that matter. Everything happens at the right time, because your internal timing is clear. You also begin to feel a quiet confidence that doesn't need to be shown. It's not in what you say. Not in how you present yourself. It's in how you move, how you decide, how you hold your energy. It's in the fact that you don't break your own structure. No matter what is happening around you. And that creates trust, not just in yourself, but in your life. Because you know, whatever happens, you will stay. You will return. You will continue. And that certainty removes the last layer of instability. No fear of losing direction. No fear of falling back completely. Because even if something shifts, you know how to come back. And that knowledge is enough. More than enough. Because it means that nothing can fully take you away from yourself anymore. And when nothing can take you away from yourself, your life becomes unshakable. Not perfect, but stable, directed, aligned. And from that place, there is nothing left to chase, nothing left to prove, nothing left to fix. There is only one thing left: to continue exactly as you are. Clear. Present, in control of your energy, and fully in your own direction. And at that point, even the idea of working on yourself begins to dissolve, because there is nothing left to fix, nothing left to chase, nothing left to become. Everything you needed was already built through your decisions, through your awareness, through how you chose to hold your energy over time. You stop seeing life as something separate from you, something you need to manage or control. It becomes an extension of how you operate, how you think, how you choose. And because your choices are aligned, your life reflects that alignment naturally, without force, without constant adjustment. You no longer think in terms of effort. You think in terms of direction. And direction stays, even when effort fluctuates. Some days you will have more energy, some days less. But your direction doesn't change. Because it is not built on how you feel. It is built on how you choose. And that removes instability completely. Because feelings shift. But direction holds. You also stop attaching meaning to every moment. Not everything is a sign. Not everything is a lesson. Not everything needs to be analyzed. Some things are just neutral. And neutrality becomes comfortable. You no longer need intensity to feel alive. You don't need constant movement, constant stimulation, constant change. You can exist in calm and still move forward. And that calm becomes your baseline. Not something you search for. Something you return to, naturally. You also begin to notice that your presence has changed completely. Not louder. But deeper. More contained, more precise, more intentional. You don't give energy to everything anymore. So when you do give it, it has weight. It has direction. It has impact. And this changes how everything responds to you. Not because you are trying to influence it, but because your energy is no longer scattered. It is focused. And focused energy shapes outcomes. Without force. Without pressure. Without noise. You also begin to trust that you don't need to do anything extra to maintain this. Because it is no longer something you are trying to hold. It is something that holds itself. Your structure is stable. Your boundaries are clear. Your awareness is active. And that combination sustains everything. Without effort. You don't fall back. Because there is nowhere to fall back to. That version of you no longer exists. And this is the final shift. Not improvement. Not growth. But transformation. You are not managing your energy anymore. You are living from it. And when you live from your energy, instead of losing it, everything becomes simple. Clear. Exact. You don't search. You don't question. You don't hesitate. You see. You choose. You move. And you continue. Not because you have to, but because that is who you are now. Aligned. Stable. Fully yours. And at the very end, there is nothing left to continue, because everything is already in motion, already aligned, already held, without effort, without pressure, without the need to maintain it consciously. You don't wake up trying to protect your energy, it is already protected. You don't remind yourself to stay focused, you already are. You don't question your direction, you are inside it. And this is where everything closes, quietly, completely. No more searching. No more adjusting. No more returning. Because there is nowhere else to go. You are not outside your life anymore, trying to manage it. You are inside it. Living it. Building it. Sustaining it. Through every decision, through every moment, through how you hold your energy without even thinking about it. There is no tension left. No need to prove. No need to fix. No need to become. Everything you needed, you already kept. Your clarity. Your direction. Yourself. And from that place, life doesn't feel like something you control. It feels like something that responds to you, naturally, consistently, without resistance. You move, and it follows. You decide, and it aligns. You stay, and it builds. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped losing what was yours. And that is the final point. Not growth. Not change. Not improvement. But stability. Complete, quiet, unshakable stability. Where your energy is yours. Your direction is clear. And your life is no longer something you are trying to figure out. It is something you already live.